So, guys, Grunt and I are super excited to be with you, and we are going to be looking at Yu-Gi-Oh news you might have missed, and it has been probably close to 2 months. Would that be accurate, Grunt?
I'm trying to remember. We covered these, I think. I thought we had one little news segment right after Thanksgiving,
Oh, you know
or
what? I think you're
before
right.
Thanksgiving,
Yeah, it
but it
was
wasn't
real
for long.
short,
Yeah.
but yeah, we it's just been very tough. Hey, Taco Tony. At some point, I'd like to see what you're playing. I don't know if I'll have time tonight, but I should at some time tomorrow. But let's go ahead and take a look at our first bit of news here. So, this is from the Secret Shiny Box Sky Striker, and it's just Strategic Striker H.A.M.P. This card is always treated as a Sky Striker card. You can only special summon with the first effect of this card's name once per turn. If you control a Sky Striker Ace monster, you can special summon this card from your hand to either field by tributing one monster on that field. When this card is destroyed by battle, you can target one card your opponent controls and destroy it. Ooh, that's interesting. So, what are some uses you see for this Grunt?
It's a searchable, recurable, archetypal kaiju. It's
Yes.
so this is not, and this was the first Sky Striker card that got revealed. We have one later in the slide that I added for like a chronological order. So but this thing, it's not really bad. I think that's what people were saying when it first came out. They were disappointed, and then people were like, well, it doesn't suck. It's just not what you might have wanted. It's an archetypal kaiju, and arguably it's pretty useful because it can be recurred, it can pop something after it's popped, so it gets the job done.
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting, especially if you take a look at the second effect. That
Mm-hmm.
if it's destroyed by a battle, you can target one card your opponent controls. And so, I think if I were to special summon it to my opponent's side of the field by tributing one monster they have, then I could attack into it, destroy it, and then get the pop effect that way too, right?
You could, and if you're using something to recur from the graveyard, not saying you're going to activate. I don't know if Kagari can bring back any Sky Striker card. I thought it was just spells or but point is, you can recur this from the graveyard if you really need to keep using it as a kaiju, and that does help with some of the things that Sky Striker can struggle with, especially with giant untargetable boss monsters.
Absolutely. I think it's actually exactly what the deck needs. And it doesn't need much. As we've seen from some of our duelists that have used Sky Striker, that's already a very consistent deck, and this definitely helps it by having removal and then extra removal if you special summon it to your opponent's field. So yeah, pretty interesting. I think it's a good update for sure.
It doesn't hurt to run it at one because it's searchable. So you might as well run
Mm-hmm.
it as an option when it comes up because there's a lot of decks that really don't mind it. You wouldn't mind using a kaiju on. So
I agree, absolutely. Okay, so looking at the next one here, the Makashi archetype, I'm very excited about this
yeah, these are cool.
because I think they're fun. Dumb Gamers 22, he was showing the deck to me, and I have honestly fallen in love with it. I've been searching my bulk for Makashi cards just because I really do enjoy it quite a bit. It's just fun to special summon a bunch of cards.
I
But yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say real quick that it was relatively budget friendly. I say was because I'm actually
Mm-hmm.
looking right now. Yeah, so it's kind of gone up a little bit in price. People are
Yeah.
somewhat hyped for the new support, spoiler
Yep.
alert, but I think I got my deck core for around 30. Now it's probably going to cost you upwards of 40 to 50 at least,
Yeah.
if not more.
Which still isn't that bad. You can still make that work. But yeah, it was
Considering there's
pretty
barely any
budget at one
recruits.
point. I mean, at one point, because I remember when the cards first dropped and no one was really playing them, and it was really cheap. I mean, we're talking probably $20 for the whole thing. It was
Yeah.
not a lot of
I
money.
mean, and we've gotten to the point now where since that set, now we have a Link 3 and 4. We've gotten
Mm-hmm.
multiple spell traps. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's gotten a lot of support. I think that both these cards do well. You can read them real quick.
Yeah, yeah. So the first one here is a Link 3 Water Zombie. and it requires 2+ zombie monsters in order for you to summon. You can only use the second and third effect of this card's name each once per turn. So the first effect, you can only control one Yugioh Onya, the Icicle Makashi. If this card is special summoned, you can target one effect monster your opponent controls, negate its effects. That's really good. And then the third one, it's a quick effect. You can banish this card from your graveyard and then special summon one of your zombie synchro monsters that is banished or that is in your graveyard. Oh wow, that's terrific. And then we have Ghost Meets Girl, a Makashi, and what is that? Shina. How do I say that?
Mayakashi and Shiranui's Tail.
Shiranui. Okay, so Mayakashi and Shiranui Tail. It's a normal trap. You can only use one of the first and second effects of this card's name per turn and only once that turn. Tribute one Mayakashi or Shiranui, no, I'm not saying it right, Synchro or Link monster, and then neither player can special summon monsters from the hand, deck, and extra deck for the rest of this turn. Super broken. Wow. Okay, and then 2, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one of your banished zombie monsters and return it to the graveyard. Oh my gosh. That is just amazing. Is there more after this? Okay, no, there's not. Okay, so
nope.
Go ahead.
For Mayakashi.
Yeah, go ahead and talk about these 2 cards. They look fantastic.
So, the Link 3, again, I know people were probably thinking, all it does is, a small negate on summon, it's got a grave effect. So what? Well, the so what is that this is a bridge, essentially,
Yes.
because you run the Link 2, and now you don't need to rely on little Yugioh, the little Mayakashi, the level 1 that special summons from hand. You don't need her as an extender now, because you literally will summon the Link 2 Yuki, bring back Daki, go into Link 3 here, get a negate, then you link off into the 4, and your 3 is in the graveyard to set up a special summon from your grave or banish. So this does everything the deck needed. And the trap...
It's amazing. Wow.
The trap is just Konami begging people to play the deck. It's literally a crazy floodgate that your opponent can... that's the thing. I can't think of a lot of opponents who are going to be able to respond to this if you're going first against them. Like, sure, they could try to pop it, but this isn't really something you can...
It's a normal trap, yeah, so you can deal with it.
You can kind of deal with it, but it's like if you're going first with Mayakashi, you're playing this, and there's not a lot of hand traps I can think of that would get you out of this, locking you down. And obviously you can normal summon, you can set,
right?
And you can still and some decks that have spells and traps won't care, but
right.
I mean, this makes the deck a potential rogue with how good the trap is.
Absolutely, the trap is amazing. So what's amazing too is if you go first with the deck, you're gonna combo a lot anyways. You're gonna have plenty of monsters that would be on the field. You get rid of one on the actual draw phase of the next turn. And then if your opponent has to special summon, they're done. I don't know how they get out of this. Now, if you're playing Flunderies, you're fine, because that deck just normals like crazy. But man, for most decks which special, this hurts. I think it's a really good deck, or good card for the deck.
It's very good, and it doesn't even... We're not even talking about the second effect. The second effect can do anything this deck needs. You can return any of your banished synchros to the grave. You can return the Link 3 here to the grave to use her effect again. You can return a Mizuki to your grave. You could return anything that's banished to your grave as a zombie. And, I mean, again, there's just so many good zombie extenders that you could use with this.
Yeah, because you think about that, a lot of this deck is trying to get rid of those cards from the grave. Like that's going to be your opponent's strategy, is to DD Crow something or Called by the Grave it. And then if you have a way to bring it back by having this trap card in there, it's just really good. Very, very impressive for sure. And a definite nod to Konami of making a way for people to play the deck. And I feel, Grunt, that they're not doing that enough for the older decks. Let's make some great support. That way players can go back down memory lane, but have enough new support that people are going to buy it. And then, people still get use out of those old archetypes that they really enjoyed. Like
Well, a good thing,
like Bujin, for example. I would love to see more support thrown their way because they've got some interesting strategies, but it's just so slow nowadays.
they did just get support last year.
They did, and it was decent, but is it enough to move it into a rogue status or a tier, 2 or 3 or 1? No.
Maybe not, but it makes it better. I mean, I can literally name a few things in this news section that we'll probably see: DDD, Blue Eyes, Predaplants,
Mm-hmm.
Pendulum. There's a whole list of cards that are actually getting expanded upon, and they're not all really meta related. A lot of them are
That's
looking to be
good.
rogue.
And I think the more they do that, the better. Just because I think it's going to lead to people really enjoying them. So moving on here, we're going to be talking about the structure deck, and I am so pumped that there's going to be an Albaz structure deck. I think it's definitely the right way to go. We also have a Tri-Brigade monster here. It's a level 4 Dark Wing Beast. You can only use the first and second effects of this card's name each once per turn. When your opponent activates a monster effect and you control a fusion monster that lists Fallen of Albaz as the material, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard and negate that effect. Oh, that's really interesting. If this card becomes banished, you can add one Fallen of Albaz or one monster that lists a monster in its text from your deck to your hand, except for Tri-Brigade Mary Curry. Ooh, that's
Yep.
interesting.
So the spoiler, to give you guys an idea, is that you'll be like, "What the heck does this have to do with Tri-Brigade?" So again, Albaz and Ecclesia have had this lore going on. Obviously, with Tri-Brigade, Spring-Ins, Despia are kind of the
Mm-hmm.
antagonist, and the gimmick for some of these Albaz support cards is they're technically parts of the other archetypes. Like you'll see Kit here in Spring-Ins when she's supposed to be, Tri-Brigade. So the point is it's all supposed to be kind of lore based, but they're all technically an archetype like Zephyra because they all list Fallen of Albaz. So Mercurier can search
Right.
out it and some of the other monsters we'll see later. So hopefully that gives a little clarification on why they're focusing on Albaz.
No, no, that makes sense. And I do like the effect. It's a pretty solid one. I mean, so it's very interesting. And then we have Spriggan's Kit here, like you had just mentioned. It's a level 4 Dark Beast. You can only use the first and second effects of this card's name each once per turn. If you have a fusion monster that lists Fallen of Albaz's material in your graveyard or on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add one of your branded spell traps that is banished or in your deck or graveyard to your hand, and then place one card from your hand on the bottom of the deck. Oh, that is just awesome. Oh wow. Grunt, what do you think of that one? That just seems fantastic to me.
So the only deck I've invested in really from the current set of support we're going on to the next Megatons, that's Despia, and a lot of this works with Despia because just like Despia, this focuses on branded stuff, and
Yes.
branded is the bread and butter for both Albaz and Despia, mostly
Mm-hmm.
because Despia runs some Albaz stuff as well. So
Yep.
this is just generic good stuff. It is an extender that lets you search. I don't know what else to say about it.
Well, and the searching is huge because then when you have to place something um, on the bottom of the deck, I'm sure there's going to be some sort of card that you're like, you know what, I don't necessarily need this one right now, but that speller trap card I do need, and so it's incredible recursion or even a searching ability because again, you can focus on cards that are banished that are in the deck or in the graveyard. I mean, my gosh, that is just an awesome card all around. Pretty impressed, and it's in the structure deck. I mean, I think that's really cool. So I love the art of this next card, Grunt, where it says unlikely Sword Soul allies. I just think it looks fantastic. And it's a level 4 light spellcaster. It's also a tuner. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. When a monster declares an attack, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, negate the attack, and then if you control a fusion monster, that lists Fallen of Albaz as the material, you can destroy the attacking monster. Oh, wow. If a monster becomes banished face up, you can banish this card from your field or graveyard and then special summon one light spellcaster monster whose attack equals its own defense from your hand or graveyard. Oh, wow. So good. And then we've got Paradise Branded. It's a continuous spell. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. The activation of your cards and effects that include an effect that fusion summons a fusion monster cannot be negated. Oh, wow. And also, your opponent's cards and effects cannot activate when a monster is fusion summoned this way. If you fusion summon a fusion monster, you can add one Fallen of Albaz or one monster that's card in its text from your deck to your hand. Oh my goodness. Okay, which one do you want to start with? You want to start with the tuner, or do you want to go with the continuous spell?
And we'll go left to right and start with the tuner.
Okay.
So, fun fact, the lore here for these two is they don't look like worms, obviously, so they're part of the Sword Soul, but both of them are the other level 4 Dogmatica monsters that were with Ecclesia.
Oh, really? Okay, that's interesting.
I'm pretty sure, at least. I know the blonde one on the right is supposed to be, I think his name was Theo or something. You
Uh-huh.
can look him up and you might see the resemblance. So, this one, I don't think I've seen run as much. It is technically searchable with Mercurier, so I could see maybe some decks taking this as a one of, because stopping attacks isn't really necessary in this deck when you've got other ways to like interrupt and do stuff, and the destruction's cool, and it becoming banished face up, is kind of cool too because it lets you search out your Ecclesia, but I don't know. I don't think I've seen this run as much in theoretical decks in the OCG, so the spell I think is a lot cooler.
Oh, the spell's amazing. Yeah, so the first thing I noticed with the spell here, and don't get me wrong, I think that this is an effective hand trap. For those of you who play Raid Raptors, you know what I'm talking about. It's amazing how effective it can be when your opponent's attacking and they forget that you have a hand trap that can destroy the monster. So does have uses. But looking at Paradise Branded, that first effect is nuts. The activation of your cards and effects that include an effect that fusion summons a fusion summon monster cannot be negated, and then also your opponent's cards in effect cannot activate when a monster is fusion summoned this way. So, Grunt,
You
wouldn't
can't
this be
solemn
for
it.
all fusion monsters then?
So I don't think this is going to be splashed in many decks. It is cool that it stops all this. The issue is that it's kind of a win more thing because you would need to have ways to search branded, and by that point you're probably running a pretty heavy branded engine.
Oh, sure, yeah, yeah.
So it's cool, and I like the fact that it gives you recursion as well. It gives you a little advantage that you can add something from your deck to your hand. If you're playing like a pure 3 structure deck list, then this is definitely better. I don't think I've seen too many people talking about this, so it might be a one of for some decks, but it is definitely a pretty solid spell regardless.
Wow, a one of. Man, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking like when I
Well, it's
go back to
searchable.
my ancient gear decks, I remember just how powerful that continuous spell was that protected the ancient gear monsters that turn. This protects that fusion so much. I just, wow, just, I could see people trying to experiment, but I don't know how effective it would be because, like you said, they are going to have to run a pretty heavy Albaz engine in order for it to work. But I don't know. I think there's potential here, and
I only
I'll be
say
curious to see.
I only say one of because branded stuff is heavily searchable. We've got multiple ways to search branded
Hmm.
spells now in the
Mm-hmm.
deck, so
Good
that's why
point.
I bring that up.
That's a great point. Great point. Okay, so the next one here we have Branded Blade. It's a normal trap. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name per turn and only once that turn. So it's a hard once per turn. Banish any number of branded spell or traps from your graveyard and then special summon that many Ice Blade tokens. Oh my gosh, look at that. And it's a
For
Dragon
tokens.
Dark level 8. The attack is 2500 with a defense of 2000. My goodness. And then you can banish this card from your graveyard and then target one of your banished Fallen of Albaz or monsters that specifically list that card in their text and add it to your hand. And then we have the next branded card here. It's a counter trap. You can only use the first and second effects of this card's name once per turn each and only once per turn. Number 1, when a spell or trap card or monster effect is activated that includes an effect that special summons a monster or monsters, return a fusion monster or monsters that lists Fallen of Albaz as material to the extra deck. 1 you control or 2 from your graveyard. And if you do, negate the activation, and if you do that, destroy that card. You can banish this card from your graveyard and then target one of your branded spell or traps in your graveyard, except branded commendation, and then add it to your hand. Oh, wow. Okay, so, Grunt, what do you like or dislike here?
So I know people have been experimenting with these to a degree. I don't know how much of these have seen play in the OCG, but obviously Branded Blades got its appeals for summoning giant tokens and banishing some of your branded stuff, which, keep in mind, there's ways to recur that. And even then, if you're summoning 4 or 5 of these big tokens and you're clearing your opponent's board, that's pretty formidable because there's no
Yes,
restrictions on them.
absolutely.
And then Condemnation here is kind of good. I say kind of
Mm-hmm.
because it's good late game if you're cycling through multiple fusions. Because
Yes.
even going turn 1, you're gonna cycle a few fusions in your graveyard, since some of them are literally summoned to extend fusion summons. But I don't know. My only issue is that it literally only stops special summoning when there's plenty of other generic cards that do the same thing for a lighter life point cost, like
Mm-hmm.
Solemn Strike
Yep.
or
Yep.
Solemn Warning. So, Condemnation is cool. Branded Blade is a bit better in my opinion, though, in terms of doing something unique, whereas Condemnation could be any other counter.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I do think that Branded Blade looks better of the two, especially the fact that you get all these amount of tokens out on the field. That could get very crazy very quick. So I'll be curious to see what people do with that. It looks neat. Now, we've got the fusion monsters here. So we've got Mirror Jade, the Ice Blade Dragon. It's a level 8 Dark Worm fusion monster. In order to summon it, you need Fallen of Albaz as one of the materials, plus 1 fusion, synchro, exceeds, or link monster. You can only control 1 Mirror Jade, the Ice Blade Dragon. That's interesting. Once per turn, quick effect, you can send 1 fusion monster that lists Fallen of Albaz as material from your extra deck to the graveyard, and then banish 1 monster that's on the field. But this effect cannot be used again next turn. If this face-up fusion summoned card you control leaves the field by your opponent, you can activate this effect. Destroy all monsters they control during the end phase of this turn. Oh my gosh. Okay, and then we've got Rebellion, the Divine Flame Dragon. It's a level 8 Light Dragon fusion monster. It requires 1 Dark monster plus Fallen of Albaz to make. You can only use the effect of this card's name once per turn. If this card is fusion summoned, you can discard 1 card. Fusion summon 1 level 8 or lower fusion monster from your extra deck, except Rebellion the Divine Flame Dragon, by shuffling fusion materials listed on it into the deck from among your cards on the field, in your graveyard, and or your face-up banish cards. Oh, wow. But for the rest of this turn, this card cannot attack. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except for fusion monsters. Woo, Grunt, this is a structure deck.
It
What do
really
you like or
is.
dislike about the cards here? Wow.
So Mirror Jade is the card that keeps on giving. This is your go-to, best of fusions to end on, because obviously, the quick effect, the fact that you can just non-targeting banish a monster on the field, yeah, that's good. And
Yes.
even if it is, and if it leaves the field at all by your opponent, so I think that even includes kaiju. I think that
Uh-huh. That's what I
includes
thought.
other effects. At least if that's the right way that it's translated, then yeah, it's pretty good. And Destroy all monsters. Oh, wait, no, it's at the end phase, so your opponent can't build up. They have to end with a giant destruction effect on their field,
Yes.
which is very devastating. And Rebellion, I'm not going to say much about him. He is an extender. There's another card. I think it's like Albion or something
Mm-hmm.
like that, which is another level 8 fusion that sets up another fusion summon. This
Well,
guy's a nice extender. Mirror Jade is your weapon, so
yes.
I think this is pretty cool. The fact that this is all in a structure deck that is
Uh-huh.
probably going to be bought out everywhere.
Oh,
Pretty
without a
good.
doubt. Yeah. Speaking of that, I am shocked how hard it was to get the Cyber Dragon structure deck that just came out. Oh my gosh. I actually
Oh
had to go
yeah.
look around. I mean, it took me some time to find some. And I was just like, I can't believe this is taking this long. But I
Pre-order
like that
internet's online
Konami's
these days.
doing this. We actually are getting a really solid deck, and if you just buy three, you can have fun with something. So, and actually have it compete more than likely against some other decks that people are going to be running. So, I'm a huge fan of that. And then we've got the branded fusion. It's a normal spell here. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck the turn that you activate this card, except for fusion monsters. And then the effect here is fusion summon one fusion monster that lists Fallen of Albaz as a material from your extra deck using two monsters from your hand, deck, or field as fusion material, including at least one Fallen of Albaz. That's super simple since you can do it from the deck. Oh my goodness. It's
The
like
only restriction
Anaconda,
too.
but better. I mean, that.
The only, I mean, it literally says you can only fusion summon, and any dedicated branded deck is going to be like, yeah, no, that's all we're doing.
Exactly. I mean, that they're fine being locked out of Xyz and link summoning. The only time I could see that being a little funky. So wait, so is that okay after you fulfill this requirement with Mirror Jade? Because it says you have to have one fusion synchro Xyz or link. Never mind. So you could easily get that out still. Man,
Yep,
solid structure deck for sure here.
we're not even done. We're not even done. There's more
Oh,
branded stuff to see in later sets.
I can't wait. Now I know that Taco Tony, if you're still watching, you're going to be hype about this as well as I am.
I was
We
also pretty hyped when I
Oh
saw
yeah.
this.
Oh, that's
I
right.
used to
You
play.
also play DDs. I forgot about that.
I haven't played DDs in a while, but I'm probably going to pick the deck back up in some testing after this new support.
Well, and DDs are a great budget option for all of you out there. There are definite great decks you can make with DD cards. There's so much you can do.
It's
So I can't wait to dive into this support here. I haven't
it's
even
all
seen this yet. So
it's also probably one of the most skill intensive decks in the game. So if you really want to challenge yourself to, learn how to do certain interactions and time your strategies and combos, like DDD is probably one of the best decks I ever used to help get people off their training wheels.
yeah, and what's nice about it too, I like how you said that. Get off your training wheels. DDs do everything. They have effect monsters. They've got pendulum monsters. They've got synchro, fusion, Xyz. I mean, link. I mean, they've got all these different summoning mechanics, which really would be helpful if you're showing a new player how to play the game. So I do like the way that you said that, Grunt. This is a perfect deck to walk someone through those training wheels. Okay, so let's look at the first one here. We got DD Griffin, and notice it's a level 1 skill, like that already. It's also a dark level 4, which is always good. The pendulum effect, you can use the pendulum effect of this card's name once per turn. You can target one fiend monster you control, and it gains 500 attack for each dark contract spell or trap with different names you control and in or the graveyard until the end of this turn, and then destroy this card. Oh, wow. Boy, that's actually really useful. Okay, and then the next one, you can use the first, second, and third effect of this card's name once per turn. If you control a DD monster, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense. If this card is pendulum summoned, you can discard one DD or Dark Contract card and you get to draw a card. And then if this card is special summoned from the graveyard, You can add one DD card from your deck to your hand. Oh my gosh. Except for DD Griffin. Guys, that last effect is super easy with this deck. Oh my goodness. Okay, then we've got Amnesty, Doom or King Doom here, Makina. It's a rank 10 Dark Fiend Xyz monster, and it's also Pendulum, so there's a way to get it back out. You can only use this card's name's pendulum effect once per turn. If you have a card in your other pendulum zone, you can target one pendulum monster you control or that's in your graveyard, and then special summon the card in your other pendulum zone, and if you do, place that target in your pendulum zone. The monster effect, it takes 2 level 10 fiend monsters to make. You can also exceed this card by using any DD monster you control as material. Oh. Okay,
Any
sorry.
of them.
Okay. If you control one DD Amnesty, King Doom, Makina in the monster zone, once per chain when your opponent activates a monster card effect on the field, quick effect, you can detach 2 monsters or materials from this card or destroy one dark contract card you control. And if you do, attach the opponent's card to this card as material. Oh my gosh. And then once per turn during your standby phase, you can place this card in your pendulum zone. Grunts. Oh my gosh. Okay. So
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about.
okay, so I'll let you go first, and then I'm going to add anything you might not say here because these two are great cards.
I mean, Griffin is literally everything that you should have put on multiple DD cards, and they just shoved it all into one. You know, it can pop itself after being used as a 1 scale to make room for stuff. It could be a generic level 4 extender if you wanted to go into a synchro play with him. If you wanted to go into an Xyz play with him, not saying you will, but you could. The fact that you can discard something that's clogging your hand that you don't have a way to get rid of otherwise to just draw something, that's always good. It's optional, so why not?
Yes. Oh.
And special summon from the grave, I mean, again, there are ways to get into the grave.
Oh
DDs do
yeah.
have a decent amount of ways of like discarding or other stuff, so it's totally reasonable for a pendulum to get in the grave. It's just not
Absolutely.
going to always happen, unfortunately. But the fact that you can add any DD does reward you. King Doom over here literally can be seen as an upgrade to Kali Yuga if you don't want to just sit on him forever and you want to once per chain just interrupt stuff by popping dark contracts. It's
Yes.
like, it doesn't negate the effect. That's the one thing. It does not negate the effect. He does not have that much innate protection. But against certain decks, this thing can just keep attaching stuff, and depending on how many materials were under him, you're probably going to have at least 3.
Yep.
You can
Absolutely.
you can detach those 2 materials twice,
Yeah. Yeah.
and if you have dark contracts, you can extend that. So you know, it just goes without saying. There's a lot to look at here, and we're only on the first 2 of the 4 cards.
Oh gosh. Well, so my thought instantly was the Xyz card that's the 2 level 8s that
Yep,
negates all the effects on the field.
yep.
And
Caliuga.
then you go into this afterwards, and now you have more interruption. And so I mean, oh my goodness. I mean, there is a lot of good stuff that you can do with this when you're looking for absolute interruption. And I just think it's a very very solid card that I'm pretty happy with. And then like you said with Griffin, there's plenty of ways to get this card to the grave. So my first thought was Dark Contract with the Witch. So you go ahead and get your pop, you discard this, then you go ahead and get out King Genghis Khan, and then this specials once you special again, and then you're off and running with other cards that you want. You could get Slime out or added to your hand. There's so many different things you could grab with this that would just be absolutely amazing. Are you back with us, Shadow?
Seems to be.
I
He
think he
might,
was there for a
might have.
second.
No, he's here. It doesn't say he's left.
Oh, okay. But yeah, but Grunt, I am so happy. I can't wait for us to look at the next ones here. So now we've got patented dark contract documents, and it's a field spell. Okay, sorry, I'm excited because these are things that currently aren't in the archetype. Okay, so if we take a look here, oh, are you there, Shadow?
Yes, everything went really weird when I joined.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, I figured.
Shadow, we are talking about the new DDD support. It is nuts, like bonkers good.
Give you guys some context. We've run so behind on the news that this stuff is coming out in
a few weeks.
Month now.
yeah, literally, it's gonna be here in a few weeks.
Next month.
Literally, I will be buying this up because these are some of the decks that I make for students. So they love. I've got a girl right now that she loves her DDD deck. She plays it all the time. So they'll be excited with these. But anyways, we're on the field spell here. So you can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. If your opponent special summons a monster or monsters of the same type, fusion, synchro, exceeds, link as a DDD monster you control, you can inflict 1,000 damage to them. Also, they cannot special summon monsters of the same type as those summon monsters for the rest of this turn while this card is face up on the field. Oh my gosh. And then if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add one DD monster from your graveyard or face up extra deck to your hand. Oh, I can add Kepler back. Oh, good gosh. Okay, so then you have DDD Headhunt. It's a normal trap. Taco Tony, you should be going nuts now in the chat, man. This is good stuff. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. If you control a DDD monster, target one face-up monster your opponent controls. Take control of it until the end phase of the next turn, but its effects are negated. It cannot declare an attack. Also, if it was special summoned from the extra deck, it's treated as a DDD monster. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Steal your opponent's Xyz and turn it into Amnesty King.
oh my gosh. I mean, this is so good. So, Shadow, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking about if I'm playing a heavy synchro deck, all I got to do is make sure I have a synchro out myself, and then they are really in rough shape. And then with the trap, just like Grunt was saying, I could take something and then overlay into something good, link into something good. I mean, I could fuse. I mean, there are so many different options here with these two possibilities. What do you think?
These might make DDDs get up in the ranks of tier just because the ability...
It's going to be Rogue, in my opinion. I think we can at least see Rogue success.
It's going to be at least higher than where he was.
Yes. Absolutely.
Just because the field spell is just like, oh, you know how convoluted Inspector Borda was? We turned that into a field spell and it also hurts you.
It also looks like an endless deck of homework.
It is. Plus the fact that you can actually have a reason to run Trap Trick now in a DDD deck.
Oh, you're right. Absolutely, because then you could get this normal trap out. Oh, that is great thinking.
Well, the nice thing, too, is that it says until the end phase of the next turn, so it can be Interruption, which doesn't really hurt it being a trap. I really got to hand it to Konami for making a decent normal trap.
Yes. Well, and the fact that the fact that it says in its name that it's not just DD, but it's DDD. Because there are some fusion monsters, you really do have to have the extra D in order for it to work. So, oh my goodness, there is so much you can do with this that really can cause great interruption for you with your opponent. And then it leads to you definitely plussing off this. And then with the other support that we just looked at, my gosh, you're off and running with this new support for the DDD cards. Man, I'm excited. I'm sure you guys can tell from how I'm responding here, but being a fan of the deck, and Taco Tony, I know you love it. Yeah, this
throwing some
is
Xyz
great.
imports in there too while you're at it. Why not?
Say that again.
Throwing some Xyz imports at it. Why not?
You could. That's the funny thing. You could run Xyz imports.
It honestly is super effective just because you can just slap him down on any DD monster.
Wow.
It's cool. I think this is cool. I mean, I don't know how many your students follow the news, but honestly, if they're DDD fans, some of these cards should get them excited.
Oh, absolutely. It's interesting, guys. Every deck that are DDD players, they're all girls from my classes. Every single one of them have been anime watching girls, and then when they see this archetype, they are instantly drawn to it like a moth to the flame. So I mean, it's just fascinating. So they have absolutely been enjoying this archetype so much, and now that I know this stuff's in here, I am hoping it's going to be like other DD stuff and be cheap. Because most of the stuff I've seen in the past is not that expensive. So, well done, Konami. Well done. We're very excited about that. Okay, so the next ones we got here. Oh gosh, this card, the Blue Eyes Jet Dragon. This card. Okay, so all I can think is about Kaiba when he was in the jet. You guys know what I'm talking about. Oh,
we just stole his ride.
I mean, it's just ridiculous when I think about that.
The Blue Eyes White Jet has been a meme in the community for so long.
Oh, it's just crazy. It's just nuts. But anyways, it's a level 8 light dragon monster. You can only use the first and third effect of this card's name once per turn. You must have Blue Eyes White Dragon on the field or in your graveyard to activate these effects, and that's common to have a Blue Eyes in the grave. If a card or cards on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon this card from your graveyard if it was there when they were destroyed, or hand if not. Other cards you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. At the start of the damage step, if this card battles, you can target one card your opponent controls and return it to the hand. Okay, so it's interesting. And then we've got the Tyrant of D. I'm assuming this goes with the Lord of D and all those guys. So it's a level 4 dark spellcaster. You can only use the first and second effects of this card's name each once per turn. You can send one Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand or deck to the graveyard. Oh, well, that's good. That complements the Jet Dragon. And then you get to special summon this card. Then you can discard one Blue Eyes White Dragon or one card that specifically lists it in its text, and then target one Blue Eyes monster in your graveyard and special summon it. If you control a Blue Eyes monster, you choose the attack targets your opponent attacks. So that's actually helpful in certain ways. All right, so Grunt, what do you like or dislike here?
So Tyrant of D does 3 things. He only needed to do 1, and so I like that. He literally can let you send a Blue Eyes from anywhere, and that's gonna be free real estate. You're gonna have 3 Blue Eyes in your deck, hand or hand. So he either unbricks your hand if you don't need it, or he thins your deck, and then you just get a free level 4. And then you can also discard any Blue Eyes support cards, since a lot of them do list Blue Eyes White Dragon, and just get a free special summon. Oh, and he's Patrician of Darkness, so they gave this thing so many effects just to make sure that he sees play. And I don't think Blue Eyes is meta, but it's definitely got a good enough amount of rogue chances with this guy alone, just because of everything he does for the deck. He pretty good. And the Jet Dragon's cool. It works off of alternative, I guess, but you can run it. You want to at least run maybe just one, just because he's searchable.
Shadow Mew, your thoughts?
All I'm seeing is that if you somehow get both these on the field and you just summon a Marshmallow, and your opponent just has to do some shenanigans to get rid of your stuff.
It feels like something Kaiba would do. I like this.
This feels like he would just cheat to make this happen.
Wait, your Tyrant of D has 3 effects like that? Yeah, so that's against the rules. Screw the rules. He has money.
What do you mean? You literally pulled Exodia in the first duel of the show.
Yes, which is so unlikely. But yeah.
He didn't even have draw cards. He just did it.
Oh, I know. With his
I also learned how he's able to do that.
And then drawing that weird symbol on all their hands. All right, so here we go. All right, so...
Yeah, it's good stuff.
All right, so we've got the Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon. So obviously a connection here to Tyrant Burst Dragon. So it
Yep.
requires one Blue Eyes White Dragon plus one Dragon Monster to fuse. Must I love you too, honey. Good night. Must first be either fusion summoned or special summoned from your extra deck by attributing one Blue Eyes White Dragon equipped with a fusion monster. It's unaffected by trap effects. This card can attack all monster your opponent controls once each. So some ultimate Tyranno stuff there. Once per turn, if this card battles at the end of the damage step, you can target one trap in your graveyard and then set it in your spell and trap zone. And I think there's that Blue Eyes trap that would be able to be targeted here, yes?
Yes.
It can be any trap.
Okay.
It doesn't have to even be Blue Eyes.
Oh, wow.
So,
Yeah,
It's a fresh card if you wanted.
Yeah, that.
You could set Ring of Destruction. You could set the good Blue Eyes trap. You could even set the ones that aren't Blue Eyes in name but are good in the deck. Like I think Destined Rivals is the one people have been
Yes.
experimenting with.
Imperial Orders.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yes.
And yes, this is just a giant anime reference because Kaiba literally equipped Tyrant Burst Dragon to Blue Eyes, and I think in the dub, maybe it was in the sub too, they said Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon, even though it was essentially just Blue Eyes equipped with a Tyrant Burst. It wasn't
Yeah, because you can see the aspects of Tyrant Burst Dragon just on it because of the headpiece and the wings.
Yeah.
So it's kind of Konami owning up to a joke they made.
I kind of like it, especially if I'm playing the Foolish Burial Goods that gets rid of the Speller Traps. And then I bring out this guy, and if I'm playing against a heavy spell deck like Sky Striker, I have this Imperial Order ready to go. I mean, that's interesting, guys. I mean,
the problem is he's still affected by spells.
Yes,
and other things.
Right. But the fact that I can search for it at the end of the damage step, I don't know. I just think that's kind of interesting. So
why does Blue Eyes have a better Tyrant Dragon than Menaphis?
I don't know.
Because it's meant to be an upgrade. It's meant to be an upgrade. Your Tyrant is just a retrain.
I want more.
You will get more Menaphis at some point, man. Just pray.
It's been like 4 years.
That is so.
It's been 5 now.
That is so selfish. It has been almost 8 years since there's been any Aqua actual support for Dingo.
Yeah, because when was the last time it was played in an actual tournament?
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh dear. Okay, so the next one here. So we've got Apparition with the Eyes of Blue. So this must be all Blue Eyes support, I'm assuming. Especially, like, look at the mouth of the Blue Eyes there. How's that even normal? Okay, so anyways, but you can activate one card with this card's name per turn. When you activate this card, you can also reveal one Blue Eyes White Dragon in your hand, and if you did, special summon one monster from your hand. Ooh, that's interesting. It's any monster. Okay, once per turn, you can target one face-up monster you control, return that face-up monster to the hand. Then you can apply one of these effects based on its original name. Blue Eyes White Dragon, special summon one monster from your hand. Otherwise, special summon one Blue Eyes monster from your hand. And then we have Ultimate Fusion, which is a quick play spell. I kind of like the way that looks there, because it looks like Blue Eyes Dragon's being fused, I think. During the main phase, fusion summon one fusion monster that lists Blue Eyes White Dragon or Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon as the material by shuffling fusion monster or materials listed on it from your hand, field, or graveyard into the deck. Oh man, I like that. Including at least one Blue Eyes White Dragon or Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. And then you can destroy face-up cards your opponent controls up to the number of Blue Eyes White Dragon and Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon as material from the field. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, Shadow Mew, what do you think about these two?
I swear if I see someone bounce Blue Eyes back to their hand and summon Vanity's Fiend, I'm quitting right there.
I thought you couldn't special summon Vanity's Fiend.
No, you can. Can't you?
No. Vanity's Fiend and Vanity's Ruler cannot be special summoned.
Okay, they can still summon Majesty's Fiend though.
They can Majesty's Fiend, yes. Mm-hmm. I know, because it's any monster. So
it's just anything.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Actually, you can't special summon Majesty's Fiend either.
Oh, really? Okay. I
That's
thought
good.
it was just the vanities. That's
No,
interesting.
the card would be more splashable and broken if it was able to be special. Trust me.
Well, that's good.
It's probably gonna see play if someone wanted to do Blue Eyes Dragon Link.
Yeah, so the apparition with the Eyes of Blue is kind of neat. The only application I see generic Blue Eyes decks doing is it gives you a way to target your Eyes of Blue monsters like
Mhm.
Maiden,
Mhm.
which
Oh,
gives you some
yeah.
extension. I
Yeah.
mean, although they don't really play Maiden these days,
No, not very often.
my best idea is you would bounce the Tyrant of D because it can be any monster you banish or bounce, and then you could obviously just pitch another Blue Eyes to special summon him again. So it's honestly not a bad card. Again, run it at maybe at 1. It is searchable. The Ultimate Fusion's cool too,
Oh, yeah.
but it makes summoning a bit easier for them. I don't know really though if they're gonna worry too much about it. They might do it for the Tyrant though, because it's pretty good.
Well, I like the quick playability here. So the fact that I could get out, what's that Blue Eyes card that was in the tin a few years ago? What was that called?
Spirit.
Overload Fusion.
No, not Overload Fusion. It was a Blue Eyes monster.
Spirit Dragon.
I think that's it because you could destroy cards up to the number of Blue Eyes alternatives or Blue Eyes you sent to the graveyard to fusion it.
No. You're thinking of Blue Eyes Alternative Ultimate
Ah,
Dragon.
that's the one. Okay. But you can still summon that with a Blue Eyes in a way, right?
Yes, but it gives you a bonus if you use an
Right,
alternative.
use alternative. So
it's because the alternatives count as Blue Eyes
on the field.
So you could technically use the Ultimate Fusion then for that, right?
Yes.
Okay,
I've
so
seen people play testing with it. It does work from time to time. It is still a bit cloggy though.
and that's where I could see the effect is if I have this set and my opponent's about to blow up my Blue Eyes in some way, this allows me to go into something else. I just think it's interesting for sure.
It gives you the ability to interrupt too with popping, so
yes,
that's cool.
Yeah, so I do see some application here, and we know there are definitely casual players who love to still just use, Blue Eyes and Dark Magician stuff. They're gonna have fun with this. So Konami's still gonna milk that cow as much as they can because, well, that's what gets most people into the anime. So
and that, everybody, is the end of the Battle of Chaos section. So everything up until now, except for the Sky Striker and Mayakashi stuff and the Albaz, that's all coming out in February.
okay,
So DDD and the Blue Eyes are both coming out in less than a month.
Awesome. What were you gonna say, Shadow?
Dragoon with Eyes of Blue win.
Oh.
They really could do that.
They literally could just make it.
Yeah.
Just make it the opposite effects. Just make it so it banishes and can't be destroyed by battle.
Oh gosh, no. Oh dear. Yeah.
Still loses to Dragoon because it can be destroyed by card effect.
Yeah. But still, very interesting. Very interesting ideas. Okay. Now we have Pendulum returning, and you say with a vengeance. That's interesting.
Pendulum's been... I'm not even a Pendulum player, but I think we all know Pendulum has been Konami's whipping boy for the last few years because the only support they got was Sulfacord last year. They've barely gotten anything worth note of, so they're finally getting a ton more support, as we'll keep seeing.
I absolutely love the way you put that, the whipping boy. So for those of you who have not read the book, or if you know what's going on with that, royalty used to be whipped. If they were to be whipped, they had someone take the punishment for them. So just ridiculous.
It's literally a bad example of, trust me, this hurts me more than it hurts you.
Sorry, that's excellent. Okay, let's go ahead and look at this card here.
This stuff is cool.
Yes, and I'm excited to see this ritual stuff. So we'll see how it goes. Because I am a fan of the Odd Eyes deck, and my son Eli loves the Odd Eyes deck. I've tried getting him other decks, and he just wants it.
I don't even play Odd Eyes, but I love to see what they get every year.
Oh, okay. Well, this will be interesting. So the Pendulum effect here is you can use this Pendulum effect with this card's name only once per turn. During the end phase, you can add one ritual spell from your deck or graveyard to your hand, and then return this card to the hand. Oh, wow, that's really interesting. And then the monster effect must be either Pendulum summoned from the hand or Ritual summoned. You can
don't have to
ritual summon
summon
this card with Odd Eyes Advent. Each time your opponent special summons a monster or monsters from the extra deck. Oh, I love this. You get to inflict 300 damage to them. Oh, yes. Yes. So anytime I see damage like this, I'm a huge fan. And then once per turn, when your opponent activates a spell, card, or effect, quick effect, you can place this card in your Pendulum zone. And if you do, negate that effect. Yes. Then if this ritual summon card was placed in the Pendulum zone, you can special summon one Odd Eyes monster from your extra deck. Now I know why, Grunt, you've been so hyped to do this news. These are exciting updates. Oh my gosh.
Yes. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, yes, the pendulum effect can happen at the end of you negating this. So it literally recurs itself the same turn it uses itself and gets you a ritual spell while adding itself back to hand and summoning a vortex. This thing does a lot.
Oh my god.
The magical thing is that it's any ritual spell.
Yes.
The other magical thing is that I'm pretty sure this is the first ritual monster that does not require to be ritual summoned because it can be pendulum summoned as its monster effect says. So you can have it pendulum summoned, and I'm pretty sure it's not restricted by the typical thing rituals are restricted by. So that's pretty good to keep in mind. And scale sucks.
Wow.
So you'd activate this at the end of your turn if you were to use it for its pendulum effect, but most of the time you're going to negate and then add it back to your hand.
I love it. Absolutely love it. To me, this seems like a 3 of. I really do like it. So looking at this, I also like that it has the same stats, I believe, as the Advent Odd Eyes Dragon, the one that's the normal monster. That's a pendulum one. I think it's got the 2700 attack. I mean, that is good. I don't know if the defense is the same.
Doesn't Odd Eyes Advent Dragon have a monster effect where it deals burn damage whenever your opponent does stuff?
No, that
no. That's Odd Eyes Gravity.
That's the ritual card. I'm trying to think which one that is. But
Odd
anyways,
Eyes Gravity Dragon. You inflict 500 burn to your opponent every time they activate a spell or trap.
Yes, and that gets really great when you are facing very heavy spell and trap decks.
I'm pretty sure that Odd Eyes, not Advent, Gravity is the only current ritual outside of this one.
Yes,
I don't think there ever was a second ritual. So bringing that up, it's good to see that this ritual has more of a use. I don't think
without a doubt.
I don't think we're going to see Gravity Dragon fished out anytime soon. Maybe someone wants to experiment with that because now, Advent's searchable, but...
Well, and I have seen it, and I've used it myself, actually. I was facing an opponent... Now, this was years ago, but I was facing a very heavy spell trap deck, and I just had him run out of life. He couldn't do anything. So, because he just needed the spells so much in order for things to work. One time it was hilarious. I had it work against an Exodia deck back when they had a bunch of spells. I absolutely loved it. But this one is just so much better because, like you said, that second effect is just so good. And then I also like, if you get the ritual, it's great. But at the same time, you can just pendulum summon the card. And you can easily pendulum summon this with it being a level 7. So, just awesome support for the deck for sure. H.A.M.P, any additional thoughts?
It's just going to be wild just seeing this card immediately probably be decently pricey at the beginning and then drop off after a little bit.
Yeah.
It's totally going to be an ultra or secret. It's pretty dang good. I don't know. I'm getting vibes that it'll get the Utopia treatment from last year where it'll be an ultra.
Oh gosh.
We'll
I feel like this might see play in Drytron just a little bit.
Ooh. Yeah, because you could add a ritual. Yes, I could see that because during the end phase, yes.
I might be a bit slow for it. I think I've seen a few people trying to experiment with that, but usually you've got other ways to retrieve your ritual.
It'd also be a decent ritual summon instead because you can just put up a spell negate, but I guess their Herald's also just better than this.
Are better, and the negate's decent, but you don't need it. you know what? I'm sure there could be some experimentation. I'm sure this will see some abuse in the future for some ritual decks, but it's pretty good. So if they ever make a generic Pendulum deck that also does ritual summoning, this will probably be splashed in without a doubt.
Oh man, I'm excited. Man, so many good things. Just amazing.
This is just the first piece too. There's
Oh,
plenty more.
oh yes. Okay, so now we've got Performapal Gentrude here. So, or Gentrude, I'm not sure. But it's a pendulum effect. You can use this pendulum effect of this card's name once per turn. If you control no monsters, or all monsters you control are pendulum monsters, and you have Performapal Lady, is it Anaji? Or Angie? Ange? Oh gosh, yeah, so wrong.
Like or Ange.
Okay,
it's like Angel.
Ange sounds good. In your other pendulum zone, you can add one Odd Eyes card from your deck to your hand. Oh, that's fantastic. But then you have to have a way to get out the lady here. The monster effect, you can only use one of the 1 and 2 effects of the monster effects of this card's name per turn, and only once that turn. If this card is destroyed, you can place one Performapal Pendulum monster from your deck in your pendulum zone, except for Performapal Gentrude. If this card is face up in your extra deck, you can discard one pendulum monster, add it to your hand, and then you can return one Performapal or Odd Eyes card from your other pendulum zone to the hand. Oh, wow. Okay, and then Performapal Lady Ange. It's a level 3 light. Once per turn, when an attack is declared involving both players' monsters, you can discard one pendulum monster, and your opponent's battling monster loses 1,000 attack until the end of this turn. Monster effect, you can only use the first and second of monster or 2 monster effects of this card's name per turn, and only once that turn. You can discard this card and one other Performapal monster except for Performapal Lady Ange. Ooh, and then you get to draw 2 cards. If this card is in your graveyard, you can you control an Odd Eyes card or Performapal Gentrude, you can place this card in your pendulum zone. Interesting. Okay, so Grunt, what do you like and dislike here?
So Gentrude probably has the most generic application. Like, sure, he does rely on Lady Ange being in your other pendulum zone to add any Odd Eyes card, but the funny thing is, Odd Eyes already have a generic recruiter in the form of Odd Eyes Spiral Flame or something like that.
Oh yeah, Spiral Flame's a great card.
So having another extender that can search for your extender, pretty good. Monster effect. The fact that it can place any Performapal Pendulum monster from your deck in your Pendulum zone is pretty good. He
Absolutely.
can't do himself, obviously, but there's plenty of good options. And then he even lets you recur him if you want, and being an 8 scale is pretty good. Ange being a scale 1 is quite important because, you know, if you summon Gentrude or even Odd Eyes out, which is quite possible, you can not only draw 2 off her, but you can set her up as your 1 scale, and these are both good. I don't see a reason why not to run them. It kind of sucks that they kind of rely on each other, or at least Gentrude relies on Ange to be at his best, but
yeah,
they're an 8-1 that, you know, serve better purpose for the deck, so they're both pretty good.
Your thoughts, Shadow Mew?
I think that these are just generically good cards for the archetype in general, especially with the call that Skullcrabat is going to get higher.
Yes.
Hopefully. Pendulum needs it. They don't have much going for them anymore right now still.
Some people think they should bring Monkey Board to 1, and now that I think about it, they probably shouldn't.
Why not?
Yeah, that card probably should stay where it is.
Oh, I used to love Monkey Board. I didn't think it was that broken either, so...
Yeah, I looked back at what Gage did, and I'm like, yeah, I'm wrong. They can't bring Monkey Board back.
Why not? Why can't
Gage
they
drew
bring
like
it
15
back?
cards turn 1.
Because Monkey Board gives you generic access to a draw engine.
It's very good in certain ways, but I don't know. I saw plenty of people lose playing that card.
I don't think they had Droll and Lockbird at that time.
No, they had Droll and Lockbird. Droll and Lockbird came out way back in the Synchro era.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They had ways to deal with it, but at least based on my experience and the people I dueled in the locals I went to, either they were doing something wrong or they weren't using it to its max potential. I don't know. I just felt like a ton of the people I faced lost when they played that card
But
more than they won. So I don't know. I'd be fine experimenting, just because, like you guys said, pendulums aren't doing a thing. So
however,
they probably will soon.
Very important thing about Performapal Gentrude is the fact that its monster effect will be triggered if it's destroyed while in the Pendulum Stone still, right?
It will happen if it's destroyed at all. Field, hand.
Mm-hmm.
If you find a way to destroy it through any of your effects, then it's quite possible. And a lot of the
Sky Iris will destroy it.
And what's the most popular one is Sky Iris.
Yeah, that was my first thought with Sky Iris. So you can search that off. Yep, and then you get the skill you want.
The only thing is that he can only use one of his effects per turn, so it's not like you can destroy him and then recur him in the same turn. It would be cool if you could, but I could also see that being busted. So
I mean, you just need, if you can search any Performapal Pendulum monster and scale it, there's a lot of good Performapal Pendulum monsters you want to scale.
Yep, I was thinking that too, Shadow. I thought about Sorcerer. Sorcerer is a good card. I also thought about Toad, because it gives you a pot of greed basically with the right combo. Yeah, there's some interesting plays there.
Not to mention, it gives you the one pendulum in your extra deck you're gonna need for the vortex that you summon.
Yes, I mean seriously, there's some good things here for sure. So yeah, some very solid support for sure. The next cards we have here, this is Extra Pendulum. It's a normal spell. During your main phase this turn, you conduct. Oh, you gotta be kidding me! Oh
yeah,
wow! So you can conduct one pendulum summon of a monster or monsters from your extra deck in addition to your pendulum summon. You can only gain this effect once per turn. Oh my gosh! Okay, so next one, pendulum scale, normal trap.
This is not so good.
you can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. If you have two cards in your pendulum zone, apply this effect based on the difference between their current pendulum scales. 0. Sorry, destroy 2 spell or traps on the field. 1 to 3, add 1 level 2, 3, or 4 pendulum monster from your deck to your hand. 4 to 6, add 1 level 5, 6, or 7 pendulum monsters from your deck to your hand. Plus 7, return up to 2 cards from your pendulum zone to the hand, then special summon 1 pendulum monster from your hand. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so Shadow Mew, what do you think about being able to pendulum summon twice?
I'm just gonna quote Trip Gaming, pendulum best deck.
To give Konami some credit, at least they limited it so it's only an extra pen summoned from the extra deck. If it was from the hand after generating a ton of advantage, I would see this being a lot more busted.
I will say though, if you can make enough, if you can make 3 downward link arrows, that's still really solid, which you were definitely able to do.
Yes.
For all pendulum summoning.
Well, don't forget, it's searchable too. There's a few cards that generically search cards with
pendulum in their name. I was just going to say
Alliance do that?
Duelist Alliance.
Duelist Alliance will do that. Yes, that was the first card I thought of. Yes.
It's just a card they really needed.
So, are you going to search this amazing spell that lets you summon more, or are you going to play with the pendulum scale?
Well,
that card.
So here's what I really like about this. What I like about Extra Pendulum, sometimes you get an extra monster out, but it's in the extra monster zone. And this allows you then to link, because then you should have enough materials to link. And then you can go into the extra pendulum. Yes. And so this helps decks out that really need that extra deck in order to happen. So like for example, what's that deck based on Sins? Anamorphage, is that right?
Yep.
So that would give your Anamorphage decks an opportunity to at least establish a link monster and then get your special summoning in.
Here's the thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is that you can link summon into a Heretic Seal using them, because 2 of them are dragons, and then you can just pen summon the 2 boys that lock everyone out of the extra deck.
Oh my gosh.
Well, no, you can't use Heretic Seal because it locks you into Amorphage monsters. But still, oh wait, no, those actually you can't use it. because they don't have a Link Monster yet, do they?
No, I don't think they do.
Monster. I wish they got one, but they
need one. They can't use it then.
Wait, why not?
They lock everyone out of the extra deck except for Amorphage monsters.
Oh, is that right? Even from
Yeah.
Wait, I'd have to look at the cards again. Can someone
They
look that up?
They specifically say no one can special summon from the extra deck except for Amorphage monsters.
Oh, darn it. See, that's what's so hard, because I used to love that deck. I used to play that all the time.
Kleeforts can use this and get a lot of value off of it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they can.
Absolutely.
Get a Towers turn 1 a lot easier.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And then I'm going to Pendulum summon all the materials back.
Oh, see, yeah. This is good. I absolutely good for Pendulum.
It's going to be a chase card for the set for sure.
We're not even done, Chrono.
Oh, yeah, no.
I can't, man. Seriously, Grunt, now I'm understanding why you've been, hey, we really do need to talk.
Look, wow. I'm just going to say we have 3 more slides at least to get through, because the third slide...
Well, that'll probably be a good stopping point, just because I have church in the morning, so that's a good idea. All right, so oh wow, that's a bent card. All right, so let's go ahead and look at this one.
It's just the render.
So Performapal Odd Eyes, is that Valet? No, Valet. Okay, it's a level 1 light spellcaster. So once per turn, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, this is the Pendulum effect. You can activate this card, or this effect, that the monster loses 300 attack for each Pendulum monster in your face-up extra deck. That's it. So monster effect. You can only use this card's name one monster effect once per turn. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add one Performapal or Odd Eyes monster, except for Performapal Odd Eyes Valet, from your deck to the graveyard. And if you do, this card's level becomes the same as that monster's level until the end of the turn. Oh, wow. If this card is destroyed in the monster zone, you can place this card in your Pendulum zone. Oh, wow. Okay, so then we've got the next one, Performapal Odd Eyes Butler. Yes, I love that these say Performapal and Odd Eyes. That is so good for this archetype. So it's a level 5 dark spellcaster. Pendulum effect. Once per turn, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can add one Odd Eyes Pendulum monster from your graveyard to your face-up extra deck. And if you do, negate the attack. Ooh, that's interesting. Then you can gain life points equal to that Pendulum monster's attack. Oh, wow. Monster effect. You can use this card's name's first monster effect once per turn. If this card is in your hand or graveyard, you can target one Performapal or Odd Eyes monster card you control, except for Performapal Odd Eyes Butler, and special summon this card, then destroy that card. If this card is destroyed in the monster zone, you can place it in your Pendulum zone. Oh, wow, guys. Okay, so what's your thoughts here, Grunt?
So, Valet is easily the better of the two, in my opinion.
Without a doubt, yes.
I don't think a lot of people have been testing things with him, but he has some applications. Whether you're going to, go into a synchro play, you can optimize for a certain level, or if you're going to go for an Xyz play with some other thing you're Pendulum summoning, you can match it. So that's already a good application. The fact that it mills and can possibly extend for you is good. Butler feels like a card they could have released 2-3 years ago and nobody would have complained. He's cool. Like, I like the idea of gaining life points, but it doesn't really fit the theme of the deck. It's not really necessary. And there's a few Performapal or Odd Eyes cards you might want to pop, but summoning a level 5 with stats like this that doesn't even have a good Pendulum effect, let alone scale. 2's not bad. It's just, why not make him a 1 or a 0?
Yeah. 2's not bad, though. I agree. 2's still very playable with most Pendulum decks.
But, yeah, Valet can see experimentation at 1. I mean, you could even summon him with 1-for-1 if you really wanted to.
Yeah,
and Butler's... Keep Butler in your binder as a collectible piece. That's it. He's not going to help you.
Well, H.A.M.P, when I was looking at this, I was looking at Valet's effect that if you do this card's level becomes the same as that monster's level until the end of this turn. So there's so many level 7s that Odd Eyes decks revolve around the idea that you have another card that you could make a level 7. Man, that's just excellent.
I feel like the Performapal Odd Eyes Valet, its best application is 1-for-1 target, then you ritual summon the ritual we just talked about.
Oh.
Or you use it as a piece in summoning Odd Eyes Absolute.
Fantastic.
Either one of those two applications are great.
Yes. Really, really good.
This would see better use in a pure Odd Eyes deck, which those are actually pretty fun. So I would actually not mind it.
I love pure Odd Eyes decks. Those are absolutely a blast to play. And like I've been saying, my son Elijah, he rocks people with it. One of my favorite memories is watching, he was at a Dragon Duel, and this kid's got the Ancient Chaos, Ancient Gear card. What is that card called? You guys know which one I'm talking about.
Chaos Giant.
That's the one. He's attacking him. My son only has 100 life points left. And he makes number 11 Big Eye, takes control of the monster. It was epic. Everyone, even the judge, was like, "Oh my gosh!" It was, and he was only 6. It was amazing to absolutely watch him do that. It was super fun. But yeah, Odd Eyes are super fun, and I love this kind of support. I think people are going to be excited about it. And me personally, I like seeing all this Pendulum support because, like you said earlier, Grunt, it's so easy to teach. And so I really do like that will be more support for an archetype that honestly just hasn't seen much in the past few years. Oh, gosh. Oh, you got to be kidding me here. Okay, so I'm on the next slide. So Performapal, is this Baroque? Wait, how do I say this?
Karibo.
Okay, so it's a level 8 Dark Fiend. Oh my goodness. My son Eli is going to go nuts over that card because he likes Karibos too. So once per turn at the start of the battle phase, you can add 1 monster with 300 attack and 200 defense from your deck to your hand and then destroy this card. That's pretty useful because then you could just go get the level 8 that's right there. Monster effect. When your monster you control is destroyed by battle, you can special summon this card from your hand. Your opponent cannot attack other monsters you control. And the third effect, if this card is attacked, change it to attack position at the end of the damage step. And then you have Performapal Kalas Karibo. It's a level 1 Dark Fiend. When an opponent's monster declares a direct attack, destroy this card. That's the Pendulum effect. Ooh, that's really bad. And then monster effect, you can only use this card's first and second monster effects once per turn each. You can discard this card, then target 1 card in your Pendulum zone, and its Pendulum scale becomes 1 until the end of this turn. When you take battle damage and this card is in your graveyard, you can place this card in your Pendulum zone. If this card is destroyed by its own Pendulum effect, end the battle phase. Interesting. Okay, Shadow Me, what do you think?
This gives Odd Eyes a reason to play Flute of Summoning Karibo.
Actually, Flute of Summoning Karibo only works on basic Karibo or Winged Karibo, not just any Karibo.
Not worked on any Karibo monster.
No, man. I should know. I love Karibo to death. They do not work like that.
That's so dumb.
Well, it came from a different time. It was literally back when Karibo and Winged Karibo were the only 2 Karibo.
Dang. Honestly, I think the only funny thing you could do is if you get 2 Barrow Karibo on the field and just dupe frog lock your opponent.
Oh my gosh.
Which won't even matter because they'll just pop them anyways.
Look, all I can say is Barrow Karibo is good in a generic Karibo deck because he's essentially a Rhoda for any Karibo monster. Classic Karibo is funny. I don't think he's going to see much play, although he's an 8 scale, but you're never going to Pendulum summoning Karibo because there's no decent 0 scale to run.
Oh, I would say it's turn any scale to 1 is actually kind of great.
It can be used. I mean, there's a lot of ways to search it. I mean, I think they're cool. I like Karibo, so I'm never going to knock one down and say, you're a horrible card. You know, they know they're silly.
You could have been an Aqua Actress.
Oh my gosh. Oh, Shadow, you kill me. Oh my gosh. All right. Let's look at the next stuff here. So we've got the V-Jump promo cards. Oh, wait. Is that right? No. I went too much. Okay. So Beyond the Pendulum. Oh, I've heard all about this card. This is a big deal. Okay, so this is a Link 2, which is so exciting. We've needed this. And it just takes 2 effect monsters, including a Pendulum monster. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. If this card is Link summoned to the extra monster zone, you can pay 1,200 life points, add 1 Pendulum monster from your deck to your hand, well worth it. After adding it to your hand until the end of this turn, you cannot activate monster effects. Also, the effects of your cards in your Pendulum zones are negated until you Pendulum summon. So then everything's live after that. If 2 monsters with different original levels are Pendulum summoned at the same time to the zones this card points to, you can target 2 cards on the field and destroy them. And then we have Sky Striker Mobilize-Linkage. Linkage. It's a quick play spell. If you control no monsters in your main monster zone, which many of the Sky Striker cards work that way, which I'm sure many of you know, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn after this card resolves, except for Sky Striker Ace monsters. Also send 1 other card you control to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon 1 Sky Striker Ace monster from your extra deck to the extra monster zone. And if you have at least 1 light and 1 dark Sky Striker Ace monsters on your field and or in your graveyard, the special summon monster gains 1,000 attack. Okay, so Grunt, what do you really like or dislike here?
So Beyond the Pendulum is Konami saying they're never gonna unban Electromite.
Yes.
But at the very least, it's
ridiculous.
It's a nice bandage. It helps the decks. It helps any Pendulum deck, honestly. Yeah. And the fact that you can target 2 cards on the field when you Pendulum summon monsters with different levels, which isn't too hard in some decks. I mean, it's nice and free, and you don't even have to do the pop if you don't want to. So, what's there to say? It's what Pendulum's wanted, and it's probably the best bandage Konami's going to give them this year. So, take what you can get. Linkage is probably what's getting a lot of people excited to see Sky Strikers maybe jump into a much better place in the meta, just because it literally lets you turn any of your dead back row into an ace, and if you have your Rose and your Ray in the graveyard, it's also going to be a lot stronger. So there's not much to say. Linkage does everything the deck could have wanted, and the deck didn't deserve it. So it's pretty good that Sky Strikers get this piece.
Shadow Mew, your thoughts?
I think, Linkage is just a generically good card because there's not any hand trap that can touch it.
Great point.
And Beyond the Pendulum is just Anaconda Electromite.
You're absolutely right.
However, I do think it's a little spooky with the fact that there are some much more powerful pendulums that exist now. The best example being Anti-Human Intelligence Messiah, which is just Dimensional Fissure for spells and traps.
Pretty good floodgate. I'm sure it'll see use at some point. I'm still got my playset.
I have, I think, 2 of it.
I got my playset because they were $1 a piece.
Oh, nice. Oh, yeah. Yep, absolutely.
They
pick it up while it's cheap. Yeah, but
it's a very solid card.
Yeah, I was gonna say I like it, and Grunt, I think you hit it on the head when you said, unfortunately, I don't think we can expect Electromite to come off the ban list that's coming up, which really does stink. I understand and appreciate this new Pendulum support, but if they give us back what you were also saying, Shadow, give us back Joker, and then give us Electromite, then that's even more tools for us to use. And this would still be played even with Electromite at 1, because if it gets blown up, you at least have another way to go into a Link 2. But what were you going to say, Grunt?
I was going to say, Konami isn't going to... That's the thing. Konami doesn't want this card to be a Plan B. They want it to be your Plan A. It's going to be a Secret Rare, Dimension Force. And they're going to try and, push it as probably one of the chase cards in the set, just because Pendulum is looking quite spicy now with some of the other stuff we'll see later on.
Yeah, but it's a good alternative. Go ahead,
I want to know how it's working over in the OCG, having this and Electromite, because I think they have it at 1 over there, don't they?
They do.
Yes,
yeah, if I'm not mistaken, yeah.
So it must be a wild time over there with both of them now.
Oh, there's certain things that the OCG has in their formats that I so wish we had here. Like
Maxi.
Marco Cosmos at 3. You know, I mean, there's certain things I'm like, yes. Why don't we do that?
I want to see what happens when you maxi an Emancipator player.
Oh, gosh. Could you imagine? Oh, my gosh.
Check out.
They would deck you out. No, that's why you run 5 pieces of Exodia as a backup plan.
Oh, that'd be hilarious. Oh my goodness, that would be epic if that ever happened to somebody. You know
that used to happen.